Hello and welcome to another episode of The Coder Career. My name is Cameron Blackwood. I'm the co-founder of The Coder Career. I'm a former technical recruiter turned software engineer. And my guest today, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. My name is Guillaume Duhan. I'm a CTO and senior front-end developer. And thanks for the invite, Cameron.
Oh, it's amazing to have you. Thanks so much for coming on. So I think I first found you on YouTube. I think I was looking in the latest comments of Theo from Ping's video, and I saw you commented something interesting on there. So I checked out your channel, which is Code with Guillaume, right?
Yes,
And I was
absolutely.
watching videos, and I was like, I have to get this guy on the podcast.
Thank you very much for that. That was very ambitious for me to put Code with Guillaume because my French name is very hard to pronounce. So I was looking for a name easy to make. But actually, I said, nah, let's go. Let's put my name and people will learn. So yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like the French version of the British name William, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's William, but in French. So
Okay.
yeah, my mission is to educate all the world to pronounce my name. So yeah.
Well, you've educated me now, so yeah, that's step one. Cool. So you are a specialist in a number of different areas, and this is why I think this could be a really cool episode because we can talk about all the different front end areas that you know about. You've been a CTO, you're an expert in freelancing, you've taught courses. You are obviously a man who has a lot of hats. How would you summarize what a typical day looks like to you? What kind of projects do you do?
To be honest, I'm more a freelancer right now. I've been a CTO of several startups, and today what I do most of the time is to teach Vue.js on a lot of front-end developers, and most of them are really junior developers. So that really fits to a lot of people who are listening to your podcast, I think. So yeah, basically I teach Vue. I create products from scratch for a lot of young startups, and I also work as a CTO on demand for a lot of bigger startups. Yeah, every day.
Vue is a super interesting topic, actually, because almost everyone front-end related on here tends to talk about one framework, or I should say library. So I've definitely given the game away what I'm talking about here. And I mainly do front-end myself, and it's React. I do it day in, day out. So I'm always very interested in other perspectives. For you, why do you think Vue is such a great choice? And also as well, for people that are listening and maybe trying to pick a framework to specialize in, why should people choose Vue over other frameworks?
Well, to be honest, Cameron, I'm also doing React. So, but Vue is my favorite framework, and especially Next.js with the latest version. But why did I choose Vue? It's because I have a big background in front end. All right, I've started by coding on PHP with WordPress in 2006, and back then I was making blogs. Okay, and the origin of my passion for development, sorry, was that a lot of girls who had blogs asked me to, because back then it was a lot of girls who had blog. It was not really a man thing, to be honest. My first client were a lot of women that were creating blogs about their life and stuff. And they asked me, can you make banners for me? Can you make CSS changes and stuff? And that's how it started. So integration was the first thing I learned in web development. And later I understood that was important is to understand functionalities and how to use frameworks and stuff. And Vue.js by the time was for me the best framework to work with because the learning curve was very, very interesting. You really enter in Vue.js really fast. It's really easy to understand for very junior developers, okay? Nowadays it's the same with React. But Vue.js was very, very sexy by the time I had to choose a framework. So that's why I picked up Vue.js. And I have to say it became really famous. So for many reasons. And there was this thing about Vue that on the same page you can have HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And I found that really clear to read, really clear to understand. Because when you start front-end development, for instance, with AngularJS, That's what I did at first. I worked with Angular 1 to begin.
Oh, so the legacy Angular. I've heard it's
Yeah,
very hard. I've used modern Angular at work, and that's quite
yeah.
nice actually. But legacy Angular, I've heard bad things.
Oh my God, the legacy Angular, that was cool. Okay, that was cool because it was one of the first framework that a lot of people were using. So you were like, oh, that's great. And if you come from jQuery and you go to Angular, it's a very big step, but it's amazing. And you got a lot of files. Okay, you got the JavaScript file, HTML, CSS, etc., etc., and it can be messy really fast if you create a lot of components and UI elements. But with Vue.js, it was really simple, everything at one place. So yeah, that was one of the elements that made me go on Vue.js directly.
That makes a lot of sense. And something I find really cool is that you picked up coding in general as a way to solve just some real life problem. And I think that's always one of the best ways that people
Yeah,
can learn because you're
yeah,
doing it for motivation.
yeah.
And I don't know if you were charging for this or if you were just helping people out, but
At first, I wasn't charging, but finally they proposed me to charge, and I was like, okay. So I found out we could earn money with that. But it was
yeah,
a long
yeah.
time ago, Cameron. It's not like nowadays. It was in 2006. Back then, like having a website was something really, how to say, like it was not very important for people, and they were like, okay, it's a website, you know. Nowadays, everybody wants to have a website to start something. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's interesting because it's kind of a familiar story for me. Like I'm a little bit younger, but a lot of people that I've spoken to that learned to code around the same time as you, they often say very similar things about CSS. They say, "Yeah, I learned it because I wanted to make a cool MySpace profile." And and what's funny is like I just about know what MySpace is. Like I maybe had a MySpace account illegally when I was 11,
Yeah,
but a lot of the real kids these days they don't know what it is.
yeah,
And so for anyone listening, just imagine you could customize your TikTok page with different colors and things like that. Um,
yeah, exactly.
it was back when
Yeah.
companies let you have a little more free room, I guess, free reign over your own profile pages and stuff. And I don't know, I'm nostalgic for those days of the internet a little bit. I don't know about
We
you.
were really free.
Yeah.
It feels dumb to say, but we were really free because back then there were no product, there were no designing people. There were, but it was by the time it was difficult. Like for the companies, the developer was the guy who used to take care of the website.
Mm.
But nowadays, there's an entire team behind websites. Okay, there are product, sales, marketing, a lot of people behind it. Okay, so yeah, it was more free, but it was messy. We have to say it was
Yeah,
messy, honestly.
it's true, and also there were a number of vulnerabilities. There was a famous MySpace hack which spread so quickly. I can't remember
Yeah,
the name of it now, but if you added someone, it would install some kind of bot on your profile, and then it would replicate itself. And yeah, there were obviously downsides to it, but we only
yeah.
remember the good things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember MySpace, and it's really funny because a lot of people, or a lot of young people actually right now, they think Facebook was the first social network, and it's Facebook is already really old for them. They don't
Yeah.
use it. Okay, like it's just my mother and my father who are 60 years old that are on Facebook. Okay, and my uncle that is 65 is sending me a nice gif, on by message and stuff, and nobody's using Facebook. But actually, the first one of the first social network was MySpace, and before that there were other social networks. Like they used to get MSN Messenger. I don't know if you remember about MSN Messenger.
Yeah, I had this in what we call primary school, elementary school.
Yeah,
So I was very young, but yeah, I remember the
yeah.
MSN Messenger. Yeah,
It was a long time ago. You remember?
yeah.
And you had this button where you could click and play some kind of volleyball stuff. Like you had these two
Oh yeah,
characters, and you remember that?
yeah, like Pong. Yeah.
Yeah, something like Pong. Yeah, it was a long time ago. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and for people now, obviously we can't time travel back to 2006 as much as a lot of us want to, myself included. The music was best back then.
Yeah, yeah,
But like, if someone wants to learn to code now and do it effectively, What would you say the modern equivalent? Like, is there some kind of opportunity now, similar to how you found with working on people's blogs? Is there a way that someone can break into the industry without necessarily having that computer science degree? Do you think?
You mean what would be the best opportunity to break into the industry right now? You think, if you are a junior
Yeah.
developer, you want to start?
And like a way to earn a bit of money, potentially even just as a freelancer. So methods I would maybe suggest to people is like either create something yourself, or perhaps offer to code for a non-profit or something like
Yeah,
that.
there's a lot of way, Cameron. There's a lot of way to earn money today because and it's going to be there are going to be more and more opportunities to earn money on the web. So one of the best way is to show what you do. So creating a YouTube channel or talking about it on Twitter or just sharing your code on blogs and stuff. And then you can be found by companies who need you because they look for the same subject and stuff, and they found you, and that's a way. Another way is just to go on freelance website and just subscribe as a freelancer. Me personally, I'm on a very big platform called Malt, and I'm what we call a star malter. So I'm on the top 1% of the freelancer of this platform. So there's a lot of offers, and I really enjoy it. It's really cool, but sometimes for junior it can be hard because it's a big step. It's a big step first into the tech companies and in the tech world, and also at the same time in the freelance world, because you have to sell yourself and stuff. So it's a solution, but not for everybody. Freelancing can be hard also because you have to sell yourself, you have to manage your contract, people, and stuff, and you also have to succeed. I mean, you can have really big missions, and if you are a junior, you don't get that much experience.
Yeah.
So that's another way. Freelancing, it can be a very good way.
Yeah.
It's the hardest, though.
I agree, and I think there's a lot of pressure that comes with freelancing as a junior. I even know people that have done it after 2 years commercial experience and find it almost too hard
Yeah,
because there is just no one to ask and say like, how would
yeah,
you do this? And so I definitely agree with your points as well about the YouTube channel. Like, it's such a good way to like showcase your skills. Just
yeah,
having it's a step beyond just having a public GitHub. Like if you're
yeah.
like blogging vlogging like your journey to becoming a better software engineer and your self-teaching, that really just shows the footprint that you have and the desire you have to break into the industry. And when I
Yeah.
used to recruit, the only job where I had far more candidates than I needed was for a junior developer, because
Mhm.
everyone wants to break in but no one knows how.
Mhm.
And you're always looking for the differentiator in that
Mhm.
huge stack of CVs, or obviously the
Mhm.
virtual stack of PDF CVs that
Mhm.
I'm going through. And if someone's got all of that stuff online, you can just so easily see, okay, this person's made an effort. I'm gonna try and prioritize that. And then as well, I've got something I can send over to the hiring manager. Because if
Mhm.
I'm the recruiter, obviously I don't know how to code, but I send it over to the
Mhm.
hiring manager and they can verify if this person is, even if they're doing a slightly wrong thing, the fact that they're
Mhm.
making a go of it is the most important thing.
Mhm. Well, Cameron, the thing is that I've done recruiting also.
Yeah.
As a technical advisor, I can really manage to see if somebody will fit or not. And it's not only about if this person knows how to code or not. It's also a lot of human perspective. Okay, you can have a very great developer, okay, and he will not fit at all for a very simple mission for many reasons, and most of them are because that he will not be interested in the project first, because he's very good at something. Like, let's say that he's very good, he can code again the firmware of the GoPro, for instance, and you ask
Mm.
him to create a SaaS product. Okay, he will be bored really fast. Okay, so that's one thing. You have to be interested by the project, and also you need to you need to you have to learn all the time when you are a developer. And I think a lot of people they just think that if they know a framework, it's over, like they can do everything and stuff. It's not true at all. I'm coding since many years now, and I understood that the best way to be good and efficient is to constantly learn. constantly. Like I'm not saying that you have to switch framework every month or stuff like this, okay? And I'm not saying that if you get a product you get to get the latest version. That's not the case at all. Yesterday I was talking with the CEO of a very big company in the UK, and he said to me that they didn't update their packages since 3 years. And he
Oh.
said to me, yeah, and he said to me, why should I do that? It's working. I don't care. I was like, okay, that's a point of view. Okay, that's a point of view. And if it works, it works. So there's very different way of doing things, and that's why it's hard to recruit. That's why it's hard, because it's not only a question of experience or do you know how to code in Next.js or Vue.js. It's also a question of what are you interested in,
Mm.
and are you ready to learn every day.
And I
So yeah,
think a skill that is often unappreciated for junior developers is the ability to ask questions to seniors properly. So a lot of the
yeah,
time, like every junior is going to have questions for the senior. That's how it
yeah,
works. That's why we have these rankings, right?
yeah,
But the thing is, if a junior knows how to ask the questions properly, particularly if we're working in a remote environment, and every five
mhm,
minutes on Slack it's just ping, 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 ping. If instead you learn how to give a
mm,
proper crack at a solution yourself, then
mhm,
research it using things like Stack Overflow if you can't work out what's going on, and then
yeah,
after that you come up with an itemized list of questions
yeah,
explaining what the steps you took were, and then
yeah,
having a clear code base if necessary to then show the senior. The seniors will
yeah,
love you, will want to help you more, and then you're going to get promoted quicker. So
yeah,
I think that's one of the best ways to thrive as a junior, and seniors will be a
yeah.
fan. And if you can show that in an interview, then even better.
Yeah, absolutely. Me personally, what I saw is that a lot of people think that being a developer and working in a web company is the same as a conventional job. They think they have to ask if they can do stuff, or by Facebook. There's this story about a guy who was as an intern. He just pushed directly. I don't know how it happened, but he made the Facebook crashed years ago by just pushing something really dumb about a smiley. Like when you click on the smiley, there is some kind of animation, something really dumb. And he took the decision before asking people around him, and he made the. I don't remember. Maybe people could put this link of this story after the podcast, but this guy has been promoted because he took risk to push the stuff. So it really depends on some companies. In some companies, people think that the relationship of working of the people who are working there is very conventional, so I cannot do anything if I don't ask my boss or stuff. And other company takes a lot of risk and it's really fluent. So
Mm,
it really depends. Me personally, when I was looking for people, I was looking for people and lot of time of their personal projects. Okay, I don't like technical questions and stuff, because everybody can trick someone on a technical questions. Okay, it's not because I'm coding since 10 years that you, Cameron, you cannot ask me a question right now and I'm like, God, I don't know. Like it's really possible. And to finish on that, I got a story to tell about it. Is that I applied to Google years ago, and I have been received after a long, very long selection. And I never worked in Google actually, but after that I applied to another little startup, and they refused me. And the startup just have just been launched 6 months before, and they had no product, nothing, and they just refused me because I wasn't able to answer just a dumb question.
oh, is
It
it like
makes
a
me
whiteboard question? Because like things like, oh, do a binary search on a sorted list or something like that on a whiteboard.
I can't remember, but it was a so dumb question. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm gonna find the answer on Stack Overflow if I don't know it now. I don't care. Yeah, that's why Stack Overflow exists. It's because Stack Overflow is not. It's not just a place for juniors. Even seniors go on it. So juniors should ask question and don't be ashamed to say I don't know, because even me as a CTO, I said so much time, I don't know. I have to check. And just don't be ashamed. That's why internet is for. It's to say, I don't know, I'm going to search for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I think that one of the best ways to assess people of any level. Because I'm of the view where you probably need to see someone's code in some capacity, usually
Yeah,
when you're interviewing them. So I think the best thing to do is get on a pair programming call. So don't just have someone watching someone. Get on a pair programming call for maybe an hour and a half,
yeah,
and you're allowed to use Google and just explain through the problems. So for
yeah.
the juniors listening, and a lot of people who listen to the show are trying to get their first or second job, just always talk through what you're doing, because that's actually what they're looking for. They want to understand this thought process. And if you want to Google something, then feel free to Google something. Always do it in an incognito window, because sometimes your previous searches could be embarrassing. So
Yeah, you know what I did, Cameron, on the last time it happened to me. A company asked me to do recruitment for them, technical recruitment, and they had a problem, and this problem was about on it was an autocomplete, and we had a search to do, really complex query to do and stuff. And I was like, okay, this is going to be the exercise I'm going to ask to the people we recruit. Please deal with that problem for us. So I created a Notion page. I explained it in 3 lines, and I said, send us your GitHub repo here, And that's my recruiting stuff. If you can deal with the problem that we have and we are not going to fix like this, and we are going to use it as an exercise, I think that's the best way to recruit people. Because if somebody is interested in, he will do it and show you a new perspective. Even if the code is not really good and stuff, if he shows a new perspective, I think it can be a good recruit for the company.
yeah, yeah. I think my main like red flag is if it's a live whiteboard task. That's the thing for me that I always think is a bad idea.
Really? Why?
So I don't think with the whiteboard, I think particularly, maybe I'm biased because I don't have a computer science background, but when they ask for a data structure algorithm on a whiteboard, I think how often, particularly for both of us, we're mainly front end developers. How often are you really using any kind of DSNA? Like I mentioned
Yeah,
binary search earlier, I've done it once in my career, and that's the
yeah.
only DSNA that I've ever used ever professionally.
I agree with you. Sometimes I use the whiteboard, but it's for things that only me understand. So I'm doing my schemas and stuff, and it's also related, Cameron, to to the market. Okay, um, right now the time between the launching of a company and the product market fit is really short. Back then, you had to wait 2 years and creating a product, hiring people, getting money, and find your first client. Today, you can't do this. People launch companies in 3 weeks, and they have their product in a month, and they have to find the client right now and stuff. Everything is really fast. So sometimes you don't have time to do theory on a whiteboard. You don't have time to think about stuff. I'm not saying you have to do quick and dirty, but if you know how to bootstrap apps really fast, and if you know how to find information online really fast, you are a good developer. Okay,
Mm.
it's not because you have 60 years of experience in React or 100th century experience on that it will make a difference. All right. So yeah, but I think a lot of people in the tech industry start to know that and
Mm.
understand it.
I like that
Yeah,
point you make about if you can bootstrap something quickly, you're a good developer, because I actually
yeah,
think that developers, we are probably it is the most entrepreneur-like job there is, because you're
yeah,
creating a mini business every time you're solving a problem. You're basically creating a mini business, because you
yeah,
have to a lot of the time design, come up with a solution, think about how it works, write the
yeah.
code,
Write the
and then
content,
yeah,
pick
write the
up the
content.
images, etc.,
Yeah,
etc. Yeah,
literally everything, and then often as well report it to the stakeholders. Maybe perhaps, like, I work on internal tools mainly, so my stakeholders are within the company, which is nice because they're very forgiving. But a lot of the time people are having to explain it to the external stakeholders, and it's tough. And if you're able to do that, then yeah, people don't realize how skilled they are a lot of the time if they can do all of that.
yeah, absolutely. When I created a startup called Coach Hub, and it was a startup about giving a sports course online. So coaches could trainers, they could sign up and give courses and earning money. And the events, you pay for the events, and then you are invited and you can have the course in live. All right. So I was asking myself, what should I do? Should I spend 3 months thinking about the application, put everything, all the theory on a paper and stuff, or should I start coding it right now? I took the second solution, really quick and dirty. I created a Vue.js application, really, really easy with authentication. I took Firebase. And then after that, I took Livestorm, which is a product to make lives online. And I connected all of this in 3 weeks. End of the game. And I said to my associate, I said to him, okay, start to sell now. People can subscribe. There is only one button, pay and subscribe, and end of the story. Okay. And Cameron, it worked. Like we had, I said to myself, if in 6 months we have 100 clients, I would be so happy. We had 100 clients in 3 weeks.
Wow. And that's
So
just from building it quick. Yeah.
yeah, just build quick, build fast, build faster. I have no other word. Just learn to build faster and you will be efficient. And it's crazy because a lot of companies right now, they can spend 3 weeks on a buttons color. And you're like, you don't have time for that.
Yeah. It is
Do you
crazy
remember? Do you know
sometimes.
this video about this girl? I don't have time for that.
Oh, yeah.
It's yeah. It's exactly this. So yeah.
Yeah, that it's an interesting one because I was actually checking out some of I think do you know what? Maybe this was the video that I saw your comment on Theo's channel about the UI libraries ranked. You
Yeah.
have some opinions on UI libraries. Personally, I'm very for them. I know you are as well. Why do you
Which
like
one do you
them?
use?
So for me, I'm a bit strange. I like Ant Design, even though a lot of the support
Okay.
is in Chinese. I still
Okay.
think it's just an amazing.
Yeah.
I think it's an amazing library. The problem is, if you try and search something, you will need Google Translate at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also good as well because it makes me remember how lucky I am that all programming is in English by default and it's my native
Yeah.
language. So
Yeah.
it helps me
Absolutely.
realize I'm very lucky. But I think Ant Design is awesome.
That's good. My opinion on UI libraries is that it's really good. The video that made Theo was very interesting. That's why I made a reaction video on my channel because I found this video very, very interesting. Um, I love components library. They are very useful. A lot of developers will tell you, yeah, but you don't own your design. Yeah, but you are limited. Yeah, but you depend on people, a community and stuff. All right. But the thing is, creating your own component library is very expensive. Okay. It's very expensive and only very big teams can afford it. Of course, if you are a single developer and you want to spend all your time creating a component library, be my guest, do it. Me, I prefer to use Vuetify for Vue.js or Material UI for React because I know that I can create a SaaS in 3 days. And I have no time thinking about tech. And that's the thing also with experience, Cameron, is that um, if you would have interviewed me in like if you would have interviewed me in 2015, I would have said totally the opposite. I would have said create your own
Mm,
components and stuff. And nowadays I saw that it doesn't make the difference. It's just a text subject. All right. Honestly, it makes a difference at a certain level, but for most of the business I'm working for, they still got Material UI and design, Chakra UI, etc., etc. And it's fine. It doesn't make such a difference. So I'm 100% for, and I think especially as a junior, if you can focus on one library, it's also something that you can put on your resume and
yeah.
say, okay, guys, um, I know how to deal with material design. Okay, I know how to deal. I've created this 4 application. Here's the link of my GitHub, and then you understand that this person um, masterize how to create front end application really quickly, and that's very important, I think, because if it's good to learn CSS, okay, but most of the developer right now on the market, they need to learn how frameworks are working. That's the thing. Honestly, I see a lot of junior developers. And just an hour ago, I was with the team in Paris, and they clearly need me to teach them how Vue.js is really working. They are doing Vue.js in 6 months, but they still didn't understand what were mixins.
Oh,
And
okay.
it often happen, and it's not their fault.
Mm.
It's just that they maybe I don't have any reason for that, but they didn't deep dive into Vue. And me too, I spend a lot of time without diving deep into Vue. But yeah, that's the thing.
The Coder Career is brought to you by the Zero to Mastery Academy. The Zero to Mastery Academy is an online suite of courses to help you learn to be a better developer. I myself learned a lot of what I know now about both JavaScript and React from Zero to Mastery. However, it's not just those topics that they cover. They cover basically every single thing there is in the tech industry. If you can program in it, Zero to Mastery probably have a course on it. For one monthly fee, you get access to their entire library of courses, which are continuously updated to make sure they've reached the latest specifications. So no matter your current ability as a developer, whether you are just starting out or whether you're an experienced engineer already, you can stand to learn something from Zero to Mastery. And if you want to support the Coder Career, you can use the link in our description and the code FRIENDS10 to get 10% off any plan with Zero to Mastery. We really appreciate your support. Now back to the show. Yeah, would you recommend? It's not really UI libraries here, and for people who are unfamiliar, UI libraries are basically pre-built components. Is the easiest way to think about them. On a related note, we have these tools like Tailwind styled
Yeah.
components, CSS and JS, SAS.
Yeah.
Do you recommend that juniors try and jump on one of those immediately,
Yeah.
or yeah? Because I feel the same way.
Yeah.
What do
Yeah.
you think is best?
I love Tailwind. Honestly, me, if I want to launch a product, I will launch it with Tailwind because I know Tailwind, and I start by being flexible with it. But it's question of experience. Um, Tailwind, it's a good one for, I would say, for senior front end developers. I know a lot of people will say to me, "No, that's not right. You should say the opposite to junior to start using Tailwind because it's the future, etc., etc." I agree on that. But when you start web development, there's a lot of things that you don't understand. There's a lot of things that you don't understand and that are not clear in your head. Even for me, there are still things sometimes that are not clear in my head. And it's totally fine. We are here to learn and to progress. The thing is that not everybody is going to progress at the same time and as fast as the others. You understand?
Yeah.
So Tailwind is a bit difficult to enter in. That's what I said in the video, actually. And on Vuetify or Material UI, you clearly understand that when you import your button, it's the button that you have. With the classes of Tailwind, you have to remember the classes, etc., etc. So it's another game. And I don't think at this step, when you are a junior, let's say that between 1 and 2 years of experience, I don't think in your brain you have space to remember all the Tailwind classes.
Yeah.
You have more space about how to deal with my data, how to update my data locally, and how to fetch data at the right time and update, render, etc., etc. You understand what I mean?
Because the more
When
ironic thing is that Tailwind is supposed to save you time, but if you're just back and forth looking at the cheat sheet, thinking, "Oh, I forget what margin 8 is," I mean that's an easy one.
yes,
It's like MG8 or
yes,
whatever it is. But
yeah, yeah, yeah. The
it's
grid,
one of those
the
ones you
grid,
end.
for example,
Mm,
the grid. You have a lot of stuff there. Yeah, and at the same time, I'm gonna say when I work on Tailwind, Cameron, I need to have Adobe XD or Figma open next to it, and I know visually how to translate what I see into code. When you are a junior developer, it's not obvious, you know.
mm.
You think about other stuff, so it's better to use a design that already exists in a component library for me.
Yeah. So do you wireframe? Because you mentioned Sketch and Figma. Do you wireframe everything before you do it? Then is that your approach?
Um, that's an interesting question. Very interesting. Um, Personally, for my own projects, I do.
Mm,
I do because when I want to explain something to my team, I send them the picture. For a lot of people who are not into development, they don't understand all the time the problems. Okay, they say why it's a problem. Okay, and sometimes it's very big problems. The best thing is to show them the product and say, look, when I click there, it doesn't trigger anything. And it doesn't trigger anything because the next step is supposed to show me the dashboard, but we don't get the API yet. And they understand because it's visually here. Okay, if I explain to them that by words, they will say, "Oh, okay," and they don't understand, they don't get it, and they don't ask question, and you don't have time to explain everything. So it's always better to get frames. Yes, absolutely. You need to have this visual representation of your app, but sometimes you don't have time for that. And for a lot of projects, and I would say maybe 80% of the projects, you don't need to get frames. Okay. You better work on the product. What does your product do in 3 steps, in quick steps? Like you can use Whimsical or Excalidraw. Yes, I think Excalidraw, it's a software that Theo uses all the time to
Oh
draw
yeah.
stuff. You better write stuff and draw arrows between steps and stuff. It's better to think about your product and then creating it with a library on the fly without any design. You just pick up the elements and stuff than spending your time on the frame, or hire a designer to do it for you. Yeah.
That's the best option. When you work with a good designer, it's like the world has changed. Like it is one job that I think
Yeah.
is incredible.
Yeah.
I'm not very good with with drawing and that kind of thing. So whenever I work with a
Yeah.
designer, the littlest thing they do just blows my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. But I work with very, very senior designer, very good and very expensive. And I can tell you, it's so good to work with people who understand the web as a developer. And those persons are non-developers actually.
Mm.
But it happens often that even if they are senior with a lot of experience, some stuff they do, we come back on it and we say, oh, it's impossible. We can't do it because for many reasons, business reason, or just things they try to invent. They make up things that cannot happen. And it's for junior designer, I often see that they make up things that can't happen. Okay. And the seniors, it's more people who knows things that can happen and what's impossible. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, it's like a
That's the good
senior can
designers.
just pick up these intangibles
Yeah.
without even thinking about it. It's like an instinct.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's not seniors, actually. It's bad to say that. It's good designers because
Mm.
there are young designers that are really efficient, in what they do, and they reproduce what they see and the functionalities they already saw, which is possible and stuff. So yeah, good designers, I can recognize them when I can develop entirely their own frames. Okay, the whole project they do, I can develop it from A to Z. Okay,
Mm.
and that's the mark of the good designers. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you are right, being a front-end developer, it's also how to translate what we see into something real,
Mm.
and that's difficult. Also, that's very difficult.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like to think front end development is the most challenging job in the world, and it's not just because I do it. I meant to ask you as well. I've been seeing over for the viewers, over your, I don't know if it will come out as your left or right shoulder, because I don't know how mirroring works, but this is very cool. Like is that your YouTube subscriber count that's flashing through? Is that live?
Which one? What are you talking
So
about?
it's on the bookshelf behind you. You have
Yes.
like a
Oh,
light. Yeah, that thing.
this
Yeah.
one, yeah, it's Lametric. It's a very good product, by the way. Lametric, it's called. It's like,
Mm.
yeah, it's YouTubers and it's also Twitch. It can be a lot of things. It's $200.
Oh,
It's a really, yeah, it's very cheap, and it's at the same time it's very fancy, like
yeah,
for
it's
a
really cool.
YouTuber and stuff. Yeah, it's cool. I don't put it all the time, otherwise on the night it will ring when there will be a new subscriber. Yeah, but it's to have a dynamic background. I like it.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
wondering if it was maybe like a Raspberry Pi of some description where you were programming it to do that.
It's not a Raspberry Pi, but what I want to do right now, I would like to have my own server at home running,
Mm.
and I'm creating an app just for me with my calendar and all the events that are related to my profiles and stuff. So that's my new project, and it's mainly front end, mainly.
Okay,
So
cool, nice.
yeah.
And are
Maybe I'm
you?
gonna talk about it on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, I mean, people should definitely subscribe to you. Actually, now that we're talking about your YouTube channel, they should
Thank you
definitely
so
subscribe.
much.
Your videos are awesome.
Thank
So
you.
I highly recommend. The links are in the description. And bring it back to freelancing.
Yeah.
At what point would you say you kind of know when you're ready to freelance? Because we talked about people who maybe aren't ready to freelance yet, and either when you get to the point in your career as a developer where you know, okay, I can go and charge X amount of pounds or euros per day to go and work for someone, or charge a flat rate, whichever really. How do you know when you're ready for that?
That's a good question. Um, okay. So personally, um, I started freelancing after 3 or 4 years working for startups. Okay. Um, and at a point, I chose freelance because I wanted to be free. And that's what a lot of freelancer will tell you. But um, I wasn't really sure that I will be good. So you try freelancing, and if it's working, that's good. But for a lot of people, it's not working. And I think it's not working because they start by freelancing. I think starting by freelancing, it's hard
Mm,
because you don't get experience of what is a tech company, what is a startup, how does it work. You never experience the chaos of it, like the chaos in the product, the chaos in human relationships, and there's a lot of stuff. Startups, it's a crazy world. Okay, you have crazy people, crazy stories, people paid, unpaid,
yeah,
fired from a day to another. Okay, and that's normal because startup have to survive. Okay, so it's always good to go first um, into startups before being a freelancer, I think.
yeah, I
Because
totally agree with that. It's like a university
yeah,
for being any kind of entrepreneur. Working in a startup first is like your university.
yeah, it's a university actually. You experience so much stuff, and you experience stuff about startups, but only also about you.
Yeah,
It's
because
crazy. Yeah,
when I worked at a startup, in fact, when I was a recruiter, and I've told this story before on other podcasts, but when I was working in the traditional agency, I became so disillusioned with how recruitment worked that I went and joined a
yeah,
French startup, Talent.io.
yeah,
And I was one of the first in London. And the amount I learned I was there for like 2 years, the amount I learned in 2 years is crazy. Like
yeah,
everything basically apart from the recruiting that I ended up just having to pick up and do because it's like move fast and break things. It's
yeah,
such a cool way to learn. It can be
yeah,
it can be stressful sometimes, but it's you
yeah.
learn so much.
It's very stressful, and you have also good time. I don't want to be
Mm,
too negative. It's very very good times because even if you come back at night and you sleep very well because you have crazy days and
yeah.
stuff, and also because you drink a lot with people and stuff.
We
Because
had a
there's
beer
also
tap in the office.
oh really, oh my
Yeah.
god. Yeah, I think it's the best. My advice would be start to work for a company, and even if it's remote, because I know there's a lot of people that may listen to this podcast who already work in remote.
Mm,
um, just nowadays you can have meet, okay, online. There's a lot of tools that help you to talk with a lot of people all around the world, and basically that's what I'm doing with my workshops. I have a workshop about Vue.js, and I have students from all over the world, and we have such a chance today to be able to talk to so much people around the world and to create businesses with clients from every country. That's We are so lucky. And you can find a startup for you to spend time with, also, for sure, of any country in the world. After, it depends on what you're looking for. If you There's a lot of people that they prefer to be in real life with their startup, and
mm.
other prefer to be remote. Even if it's hard, even if you are going to be stressed and stuff, go into startups to get experience.
Yeah.
You will feel more comfortable doing freelancing after.
Everyone should do it at one point in their career for sure. And speaking of startups, actually, something I was really keen to talk to you about was the startup scene in France, and particularly Paris. Is I feel like it goes under the radar in the UK, perhaps because people aren't speaking English in France. Well, they obviously do speak English, but it's not business is done in French, right?
Yeah, yeah,
The amount of unicorn startups that have come out of France in the last few
yeah,
years is remarkable. What do you
yeah.
think is happening in what's in the water in Paris, I guess? And
What's the
what do you
secret?
think? Yeah, how is this happening? Like, is it policy or is there some kind of like scene going on that's really cool for coding, or how's it working?
It's really interesting, Cameron, because I've lived in the UK and I started my career in the UK and I finished it in France. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a bit revolutionary for French, but yeah, uh, uh, in France we got a lot of ideas and we got a lot of people who try to create stuff. So I'm not surprised that there's a lot of unicorn in France, and we got a very nice ecosystem, especially in Paris, where we got a lot of incubators like Station F, Nouma, Le Village. It's places where there's a lot of startup growing every day. And it's just that I think the French people always tend to create new stuff to get a better life. They always want to get a better life and an easier life. And they are trying to do their best to create new products that will change the world. It may be ambitious a bit, but on the backside, I can tell you that some French people also are very negative most of the time. Like they are very, how to say, you know that. I think you already saw that. They are very always angry about stuff and
It's
it
often a
doesn't
joke
work.
in Britain. It's a stereotype sometimes that
Yeah,
in
so
France
yeah,
people can be angry.
people are angry and it's chaos and etc. If you go in Paris, Paris is it's a city I love, but it's dirty, it's chaos everywhere. Driving is crazy and stuff, and that's exactly the description of a startup. So
I never
Paris is
made that connection.
yeah, but yeah, I tell you now I don't live in Paris anymore, but I live in Portugal actually,
Mm,
and in Paris, it's really chaotic, the life. It's a beautiful city, like maybe the most beautiful city in the world. And I'm not saying that because I'm French, but it's very beautiful, but it's chaos every day. And that's what startups are. They want to be beautiful, they want to run the world, but it's chaos.
mm.
And we already know that, but every day we look at those products like LinkedIn, YouTube, all these apps we got on our iPhones, and we don't know that behind that there's a big chaos people are trying to deal with.
Yeah,
Really.
it's very true. It's like the analogy of the swan glides across the water because underneath it's pedaling like mad.
Yeah, yeah, exactly that. It's exactly that. And I'm coming back on what I said before. That's why I told you this run of this people want to have a perfect code. It's a mirage, okay? It's
Mm,
a dream. Perfect code never happen. I've been in really big companies, really successful, and I was shocked by the code quality. And they told me, yeah, but it's running. So, and you see,
yeah,
it's
it's like held together with tape. Like,
yeah, exactly. And I learned a lot in those situations. I really learned a lot by those company. And after that, I decided to become a freelance because what I wanted to do is to get more experience about bootstrapping applications.
mm,
And since then, I've helped more than 50 startups launching, and I'm really proud of this because I've not ever been really an amazing developer, an amazing CTO, but we succeed to create products and profitable products, and that help people, And that's also something we should enjoy about is that you create products not for you, but for people you will never meet, and
mm.
maybe you will help them and change their life. And a lot of developers are not aware of that when they are coding the stuff. And 3 years after, somebody sent them a message. Thank you so much, Guillaume. It's amazing what you did for us. And you just forget this app and stuff. And that's the beauty of it. That's the
Yeah,
beauty of it.
it's such a
Yeah,
satisfying job
yeah,
in that regard for sure. And
yeah,
in terms of what you're working on right now, obviously we know about your YouTube because
yeah.
we met in the YouTube comment section. We talked about it. If people want to find you on YouTube, what's the channel name and what kind of videos can they expect from you?
So my channel is named Code with Guillaume. So you will put the link because I'm not sure everybody will be able to type
The
it.
spelling, yeah.
I just make videos to share my knowledge. So I want to share everything that I've learned. And I'm trying not to be too difficult in the learning steps. Okay, I try to do a lot of things really understandable for a lot of people. Okay, it's the same on my Twitch channel. So I got a Twitch channel, and I'm coding application in real time, and I try to go slowly and to ask really understandable questions. Last time it was about Tailwind, and I was like, how do we create a grid again in Tailwind? Okay, because it's something that we do every day. We go on the documentation on of every tool that we are using, and it's not a shame. So it's not a shame to go on the documentation if you don't know. That's amazing that we can find a solution to our problems in real time really fast. So yeah, that's what I try to do on my channel. I talk mainly about Vue.js. So I also have a workshop on Vue.js that I do it's a remote workshop.
Mhm.
Every time we try to organize this, we are maximum 4 persons, and we take 3 days to learn everything about Vue and bootstrapping your product.
So it's like a mini boot camp.
It's a mini bootcamp,
Mhm.
remote. And until now, I'm doing this since this summer. And until now, that has been crazy because I've seen people launching products and get their first customers. And
That's
I
awesome.
was so proud. I was like,
Yeah.
God, that's crazy. Yeah, so you can find that on viewworkshop.gg. GG like good game. And and yeah, that's what I'm doing. And also I'm still doing a lot of freelancing as a CTO on demand and technical advisor, and I really enjoy that. I really enjoy that because um, that's also the beauty of being a developer. With time you saw so much problem and you see all the same problems all the time. You really help people who are trying to build products, because when an entrepreneur is calling you and say, I have this problem, and you say, oh, I saw it 10 times before, you can say to them, okay, this is the solution. And I could have been this developer and spend 3 years on the same problem before that. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think I've learned Vue.js on the web. I think my mission now is to teach people what I've learned and give it back. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's a nice mission to have. And
Yeah.
yeah, so all your links will be in the description. And thank you so much for coming on today. It was been a really cool chat. I've already learned a lot myself, and I'm sure the audience has as well. And yeah, I'm looking forward to watching, in particular, your YouTube channel grow because yeah, I think
Yeah, me too
your
for the
content
coder
is so
career.
valuable.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the invitation, Cameron.
My pleasure. And thank you to the listeners as well for tuning in to another episode of The Coder Career. We're here every other Monday, in fact, not each Monday, hopefully each Monday soon. You can feel free to join our Discord. That is thecodercareer.com/Discord. Thanks so much and have a great week.